Welcome back to Across the Board with Ian the Colonel here on hawkradio.org and acrosstheboardradio.com. And I love my job every day. Every day is a special day. You know what I mean? Like, incredible guests on every single show. Our next guest is not only an incredible musician, creative as far as writing, TV shows, kind of everything. I'm pretty sure you can ask him to sculpt something and he can knock that out as well. Colonel, introduce.
We have the creator of one of the greatest shows in history as far
as
I'm concerned.
No doubt.
Metalocalypse, and he is the creative genius behind the band Dethklok, behind the cartoon Home Movies, which I know 50-year-old men who still say that is the greatest cartoon ever. And his new project is called Galaktikon. It's Brendon Small on the show with us. How you doing, Brendon?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking the time. I mean, I can't imagine you have any free time, so it's this is probably the only 15 minutes you have.
I know, but hey, after an intro like that, I'll stick around for 15 minutes.
Right, you got to stick around, right? Absolutely.
Sure.
You
can keep the compliments coming, and I'll be here. Yeah.
Trust me, you stay on the line, and they're going to come right at you.
Good, fine.
We seriously have been looking forward to doing this interview for a long, long time, and one of the things that surprised me is like E alluded to earlier, you're a man of many, many talents, and just before I even knew that you performed most of the musical instruments involved in Metalocalypse, before I even knew that, it's just such a great show. It's well written. The comedy is just there. It's constantly coming at you.
And the show's hilarious.
And it's so believable. I really could believe everything I hear on that show, that they're the greatest selling band since the Beatles, and they have all these things, but just the brilliance of being able to come up with, with just enough to do one season, let alone now you're going to come out with, another season here real soon. So what's the background on that? How did you learn to do all this stuff, man?
How did you learn? First of all, thanks. And first of all, you guys have terrible taste because there are way better shows out there.
I don't think so.
I know, there are. Listen, I watched them. And you know what? I think I went to music school at Berklee College of Music in Boston a long time ago. And while I was there, do you guys play guitar?
I do. I play guitar and bass.
I'm a bass and drummer. So.
And what about you, the Colonel or E? I don't know which one.
Yeah,
the Colonel. One.
The Colonel plays bass and drums, and E plays guitar and bass.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people, you understand then the discipline that goes into just getting a riff under your fingers, right? Or just memorizing, or even tuning your guitar, or just making sure your strings are clean and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
I think you learn that when you're a teenager and you discover guitar. I think for me, when I was 14 years old and I mowed enough lawns to get a guitar and all that stuff, I think you sit in your room and you realize that if you put some time into this thing, that it all starts kind of paying off. You start being able to play things like the guys do on records. And I also learned, I just took that same kind of discipline. I thought, okay, I really like comedy. I'm drawn to movies and documentaries and all that stuff, so I'm going to start studying movies and TV writing and all that stuff at the same time while I'm at music school and try to apply the same kind of discipline. And I think if you just keep working at it, spend maybe you spend 2 hours a day practicing scales. I would spend a couple hours a day writing jokes or writing sketches or, trying to write a Seinfeld script or something like that, which were assignments in this writing class I was taking. So I just think it's all one thing. It's the same kind of discipline. You just have to learn the rules of each little thing. You learn the rules of guitar. Why not learn the rules of an editing bay or a Pro Tools or or a piano? And it's all the same exact thing, I think.
Talk to us a little bit about voice acting as opposed to actually being in front of the camera. I mean, you've done voiceovers for every show on Comedy Central, pretty much. You were on Hey Money on BET. I mean, you've done so many shows. But talk about that being behind the scenes and doing that voice acting. What is that like?
Well, the thing about voice acting that's different than live action is that the rehearsal of the voice acting is the final thing. Meaning that if you're in a scene, a live action scene, you sit there and you hone the scene and you work on it, and you memorize your lines and you think about all the beats and you forget all that stuff and then you go and perform it. With voice acting, you pretty much you get one shot to do it, and you can take as many tries as you want to get a line to either just be read cleanly, or to be the funniest version that it can be, or to improvise on top of it.
Right.
But you know, the way that I write scripts is that nothing's really etched in stone. Hopefully, I have enough information in my scripts to give the director of the episode or the storyboard artist. But with dialogue, I think that you can definitely screw around with it, because there are a lot of different ways to skin that cat. And in animation, voiceover acting, you can try like 5 different versions of the same line and reword it, or just throw a different punchline in each time. So you're really given this ability to loosely improvise, and then you can fix all those scenes in editing later on. Live action, some people do that. Judd Apatow does that stuff where he really lets people run and improvise. Christopher Guest really gets those great confessional style improvisational things, and in scenes. I mean, people find a way to do that live action too, but it's much easier in animation, I'll tell you.
So, but the other thing about you that I like too is you not only have talent, but you understand talent, and you surround yourself in every aspect with other great people. I mean, you've worked, just on the TV side, you've worked with John Benjamin, who is one of the more brilliant comedians out there nowadays, I think, as well. You've surrounded yourself with people, not just on the TV side, but in the musical side as well. I mean, you have, great musicians working with you on your new project, Galaktikon, and, I'm a huge fan of Fear Factory. And the fact that you are working with Gene Hoglan on a regular basis, mad props.
Well, it's true that I'm really incredibly lucky that these guys that have all this talent work with me. Like John Benjamin is one of the funniest guys in animation, without a doubt. And Gene Hoglan is one of the best living drummers today. So, but I guess I tricked them into working with me in some way, and they make me look like a better musician and or comedian and all that stuff. If you surround yourself with people that are better than you, you will hopefully learn a couple of things along the way, or you will go down in flames trying. So when I came up with the Dethklok band, which is pretty much the same band for my new project Galaktikon, I thought, well, who's one of the best drummers, and how can I talk them into this project? And who is one of the best guitarists that I know that can do anything? And that's a guy named Mike Keneally, who's played with Frank Zappa, Steve Vai. He's now playing piano with Joe Satriani, but he's just a virtuoso that can do anything. And then Brian Beller on bass, who's played with Steve Vai and Dweezil Zappa. But these guys are monster musicians that have a musical vocabulary that's kind of unparalleled. And beyond all that stuff, though, I'll tell you, all these people you're talking about, they're incredibly... They're nice people, and they've got good senses of humor. So when you're sitting in a tour bus, it's like a vacation, because they're funny, and they can add to jokes, and they're just nice people. So more than anything, I think to young musicians, I always like to say, don't forget. I mean, learn your instrument and all that stuff, but remember, you've got to collaborate with people. So remember to become a social individual. You can't just sit in the basement and play guitar. Go out and meet people. Become charming. Develop a sense of humor. All that stuff.
Good advice. I would say. Better animated band, or I guess band that would win in a fight, Dethklok or Gorillaz?
Really? What kind of question is that?
I don't know. I think better animated band. The animation on Gorillaz is completely amazing. They've got some. If you look at their videos, the backgrounds and their characters and all that stuff is.
It's almost like anime based. It seems like.
Yeah, it is. But I've looked at their. I mean, me and our art director Antonio Canobio from Metalocalypse, we sit there and we look at their videos and we just drool. And we're like, these guys have such amazing animation and just beautiful painting and stuff like that. So I don't know. But every single season we do Metalocalypse, I think we up the art end, and I think when Season 4 comes out, which is soon, April 29th, which is the same date that my solo record is coming out.
That's right.
I think you'll see that on this season we up the ante with the visuals, too. But Dethklok would beat them up. They're not a violent band, I think.
Outstanding.
The Gorillaz.
I absolutely think that, even when it comes to talent, and I'm not trying to disrespect, Damon or any of the guys from Gorillaz, but just the talent level that is involved in things like Dethklok and Galaktikon, it's ridiculous. I seriously had no idea that you could play that well, brother. No idea.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't have long hair. You're not the stereotypical rock guy, with the covered in tats and all that kind of stuff. You look like just a normal dude who absolutely shreds.
Not irregular, but I practice a lot.
That's right. Practice means everything.
It is. I still, part of my day is like, I go into work and I'm in production right now on Metalocalypse, but I go into work and I check in on art, and we'll sit there at the edit bay and we'll try to fix a couple things that aren't working, try to make something funnier. I'll be writing music, but the first thing I do when I wake up is I have coffee and I play guitar for about 45 minutes, and I try to learn stuff that I can't do.
Okay.
These absurd, crazy, weird, fusion, Alan Holdsworthy style things. But I'm a music nerd, so I get into that stuff.
And what about tone? I mean, tone is of utmost importance to pretty much every guitar player on the
As
planet.
I've gone through the Metalocalypse thing, I've definitely kind of changed the way I do things. I went from super kind of I have less distortion that I play with now than I did earlier. I use lower output pickups to get a better sound.
Okay.
And I feel like I keep achieving a closer sound. Plus, here's the thing. Through Metalocalypse, I've gotten to meet some of my guitar heroes like Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, and these guys are so nice that they give me tone advice and amp advice, and they've loaned me gear to work with before, and they'll sit on the phone with me when I'm asking them about miking, cabinets and stuff like that, and what microphone do you use, and they've loaned me. They're amazing guys, but I've gone straight to the source on a lot of those things. So pick up output, distortion, all those questions, tubes, lower wattage versus higher wattage. And it's been a really fun exploration that I've only gotten to do because of Metalocalypse, because I got on the phone when I sold the show, and I said, I want endorsement deals with, amp companies and guitar companies and pickup companies, all that stuff.
And how do you remember all of that? Just by playing, and then you're like, okay, I used this heavy pick with this cabinet. I mean, or do you have notebooks where you write all of this down?
You know what? What I usually try to do, I've got my own studio, and I try to zero everything out to the simplest thing, where I've got my favorite cabinet with my favorite wattage speakers, and then I can easily switch heads, and I'll play Marshall heads. I've got a Kerry King head. I've got this 50-watt JCM 800 2205, I think is what it's called, from the mid-'80s, that is a really great sounding head that I'll use for leads. Then I've got a Carvin sent me the Steve Vai amp, which is a great lead amp too. I can't wait to get my hands on the new Joe Satriani Marshall that's coming out.
Absolutely.
And what I'll do is, and then I try to keep everything as normal as possible, where I'm not switching knobs constantly. I'll mess around with maybe the treble or the presence, but I try to keep everything pretty simple, because I don't think of myself as a really technical person. I think when you go into a room and start playing guitar, your ears can acclimate pretty quickly and get used to a sound.
And
so I'm okay with that, and maybe I'll EQ stuff later on. But at some point, I'm just used to the sound. I'm like, okay, I'll make this work. Maybe I need to do crazy legato stuff, so I'll up the gain just a little bit. But for the most part, I'll keep it pretty normal.
How complicated is your pedal board?
Oh, it's pretty sparse. I almost use nothing on it.
Really?
Yeah, especially live for the Dethklok stuff live. What you really want in metal is pretty much a good gainy sound and a louder version of that for leads, and a noise suppressor pedal.
Okay.
And luckily, the Kerry King amp has a built-in noise gate. So that amp was everything for me. And believe it or not, you associate Slayer with kind of a mid-rangey, scratchy kind of guitar sound.
Right.
But his amp is a pretty great. It's a more of a frown curve EQ, so it's got warmer mids than you'd expect. And I really like the warmer mids, and I keep pushing those the more I play guitar to get that warmer sound, because metal can sound pleasing to the ear too, and be brutal and all that stuff if it wants to.
Do you change your? He said brutal, nice. Do you change your strings a lot too? The gauge or the brand of those? I don't know if this is true. I read this in Guitar Player magazine that apparently Kurt Cobain played his guitar, that Jaguar that he played all the time, with piano strings on it, which he must have cut the hell out of his hands. I don't know if it's actually true or not. I mean, do you play with a gauge a lot?
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah.
Right.
Why would you do that when there are guitar strings?
I don't know.
Oh, well, He's an innovator. His music's great, but
just gauge.
I messed around with tunings and strings very early on that I committed pretty quickly to, especially when I'm tuned down to C standard, which is what I am tuned down to, which is like C, F, B flat, E flat, G, and C.
Mm-hmm.
I found that if I got the strongest core string, my guitar would stay in tune better, and just you wouldn't have to do anything; it just stays in tune.
Makes sense.
And it also has the notes ring out better because and I have a very heavy gauge string, so I have like a 56 to like a 13.
Whoa.
With a wound G string, but it's very playable. I mean, what I want to do is have the same kind of tension on my guitar in a lower tuning that I would have on a standard tuning guitar. So if I'm bending a string, it feels almost the same kind of tension. If I'm playing guitar normally strung at like E standard with like 9s or 10s. Does any of this stuff make sense to you guys?
It all makes sense.
You guys sound like you're guitar players. I think
that's what
listeners.
I'm going to keep listening to the interview once we post it on YouTube and everything on our website, because I'm sitting here thinking of all of it in my head. I'm like, should I be taking notes on this? 'Cause I got to try this stuff. It's brilliant. I love it.
He's more of the guitar player. I'm more of the drummer that tried to play bass but failed miserably.
Yeah, well, you'll get it if you want it. It's there. It's always there if you want to go back to it.
And absolutely, and honestly, it's one of those things where I'm never going to give up on it because I just enjoy playing that much. And
you know, it's funny. I think people that are like they get to a certain age, maybe in their mid-20s or maybe even a little bit later, and I've had friends tell me this. I've always wanted to play guitar, but obviously it's too late. And
never
I think,
too late. What
are you, crazy? It's never too late. You can become a great guitar player. Still, you can become a world-renowned guitar player if you want to.
Yeah.
You just have to want it. It's just like acting or writing or anything. It's just sitting right there. You just have to go and learn the rules of it.
Right.
And spend some time with it.
Hard work and dedication.
What's that?
Hard work and dedication will get you anywhere.
Yeah, but I think Steve Vai once said this, that when you're sitting there playing guitar and you're learning and you're correcting mistakes, you don't consider it hard work. You consider it a pretty joyful moment.
Damn right.
It's about as much fun as you can have by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There are other ways to have fun by yourself, but without taking your pants off.
Oh wait a minute! You don't play the guitar with your pants off?
Yeah, I was gonna say I always play with my pants off.
I never said. Oh well, I'm just trying to be nice. I don't know. At this point, listen, we've turned off all the girls in the conversation.
Yeah, right.
We start talking about string gauges.
That's
right?
what it is. Okay, so I knew something was getting in the way of my strings, so that's with a downstroke on the picking. Good tip, Brendon.
Yeah.
Good tip.
Yeah, use your imagination.
Now, talk to me real quick about the difference. Right? Talk to me real quick about the difference between Dethklok's sound and Galaktikon's sound. Is it going to be subtle difference? Is it going to be drastically different? I have yet to hear.
You can go online right now, and you can go on to Crave online and listen to a song called "On My Way."
Okay.
Which is the difference is big because first of all, I'm singing notes with my voice, but it's still kind of like you can hear it's Gene Hoglan, you can hear it's you can hear my guitar playing, you can hear me ripping off Brian May from Queen still, which I do in Dethklok quite frequently. You can hear like a bunch of that stuff, and then there's a lot, and then Brian Bellish playing bass, and I think you can hear all that stuff. He's got such a strong sound, but it's more melodic in general, and that was the whole idea. Is that I had this side project, I had this time allotted to kind of do something else. And I didn't want to do like a super, super heavy project because that's what Dethklok's for. Even though Dethklok's pretty melodic too. It's not as heavy as like, Cannibal Corpse or like, anything like that. But
that's up there.
But this I wanted to go a little bit more like if kind of you could add a little bit more rock to that, add a little bit more Smashing Pumpkins or something, or even like Soundgarden or even like Foo Fighters style stuff. Like there are little moments where I thought on this project, because it's not Dethklok, why would I want to be Dethklok on this project? Because I've already got Dethklok, and Dethklok's not close to being done musically, so I'll be able to be heavy later on.
Right.
And here's an experiment in just melody, because that's my natural state, is like I gravitate towards melody and towards songwriting that's leading me somewhere. I like ELO. I like melodic things. I like David Bowie. I also like heavy stuff. I also like Meshuggah.
Right.
But I gravitate towards the Beatles and stuff like that too.
Yeah, and the diversity actually comes through in a lot of it.
But But I think I think most people are that way. I think you talk to any of my favorite metalheads, they have an amazing wealth of of influences. Gene Hoglan has said on countless occasions that his favorite drummer is Stevie Wonder.
Huh. Interesting.
Me and Gene Hoglan and Mike Keneally played a whole set at this jazz club after the second Dethklok tour, where we just played all of Inner Vision.
Nice.
Wow.
And then we played some Steely Dan stuff and some Jeff Beck and some Queen.
God, that would be incredible to see.
But those are
I
also
want to sit in on that.
bands that we love.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, a lot of us do have a lot of range and diversity in terms of our music. I listen to a lot of different things, some of which I will admit to on air, some of which I won't.
Right.
I know E knows that I like, and I'm waiting for him to call me out on it, like
He
the
loves Katy
Spice
Perry.
Girls or something like that.
Spice Girls, too.
Not
That's
Katy
sad.
Perry, it's the Spice Girls.
You love Katy Perry.
Katy Perry. No, her music will get stuck in your head. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I don't like Katy Perry.
She's like an STD. That's what I'm telling you.
Oh, jeez.
I know, yeah.
Brendon, do you have a favorite offspring child in Dethklok? I mean, can you pick, Squizguard over somebody else, or you love them all the same?
Oh, I don't. Love is a strong word. I'd like them.
You respect
I can't even
them.
commit to loving them. But they're. It's funny. You work on the show. You don't think of them in terms of people. People have asked me questions about what do you like about your show, and I'm like, nothing. I work on it. It's a job, and I don't experience it like an audience would.
Okay, yeah.
Because my objectivity is totally screwed. Because when I watch the show, I go, ooh, I wish I had another shot at that, or I wish we could redo that.
Right.
Compositing move, and So I really enjoy just from the very beginning of the show. Just writing for Murderface is the most fun because he's the most conflicted of all the characters.
He really is.
Constantly lying to himself, and that's easy to write for. And Toki is also, he appears so happy and all that stuff, but he is one of the darker individuals. The ones that are the even-keeled ones are kind of boring. So Squizguard's pretty even-keeled.
Yes.
Nathan's pretty even-keeled too. Pickles can have a little bit of a temper, but the guys that are more screwed up in the head are always the most fun to write for, and you can just yield more comedy out of those guys too.
Murderface is awesome.
Yes. Brendon, last question for you. If you knew the world was about to end in, say, 10 or 15 minutes, man.
There was a Metalocalypse coming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be that one song you'd want to hear? What song would you want to go out to?
You can perform it if you want, here or perform.
I don't. Oh, geez, to go and play or to listen to or any of that.
Yeah.
I know what songs I would not like to listen to.
Okay.
Okay.
One of them. This has always been one of my most hated songs. Is Buster Poindexter's "Hot, Hot, Hot." Have you ever heard that song?
Yeah, I know that song. Yeah.
That's like if you want to get answers out of me, start playing that song on infinite loop.
It's torture. It's like waterboarding.
Yeah, if the world's ending, you may as well start playing that song anyway.
Oh,
True.
man. See, now, damn you. Now that song's in my head.
His head.
Oh, you suck, Brendon
It's one
Small.
of the worst. I think there was another one that happened recently. That I was like, oh, there's another terrible song.
Katy
Like
Perry?
if you're kind of getting sick or you're getting the flu or something, where some kind of song starts kind of looping in your head,
Yeah.
maddeningly.
Yep.
Anything Kesha, all that. That's
Right.
that's all to me. That's,
Bieber, maybe, yeah. But is there a favorite lick that you like to play that you would like to maybe go out to or hear?
Favorite
So
lick.
it feels good to your
I don't
fingers
know.
to play.
You know what? I think if the world's going to end, I think the Prophet song by Queen is one of the coolest songs
Nice.
to probably end the world
Nice.
with.
That's a good call. That's a new one. We haven't
Yeah,
heard that.
for anyone that's listening that hasn't heard the Prophet song by Queen, that is probably one of the coolest songs, and it's probably one of the reasons, between that and the Flash Gordon theme, probably one of the reasons that I'm in show business, because when I heard that when I was like, I got my mom's Queen album, Night at the Opera, out, and put it on the record player, and I was like, oh my God, I've never heard music like this, and I'm like 11 years old, and just blown away. And that has been out for well over a decade at that point. But it's got some of the coolest riffs. It's slow, it's epic, it's big, and just an amazing, crazy kind of chorale-style breakdown by Freddie Mercury in the middle. And Brian May wrote it. He's one of my guitar heroes, too.
Absolutely.
And he's an absolute genius in more ways than one. He's actually a rocket scientist. Literally, he has like a PhD in astrophysics, so pretty incredible stuff there.
Right, yeah. So that's something to live up to. I make cartoons and play guitar. He's a rocket scientist and plays guitar.
You both are very talented in your own rights, that's for damn sure.
Absolutely, man. So, Brendon, you're being heard everywhere in the world right now, multiple continents, Africa, Europe, Australia, people calling from everywhere. Where can all of these fans keep in touch with what's going on with all of your projects?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter, which is my handle is @_Brendon Small, BRENDONSMALL.
Cool.
And then on the 29th, or actually Monday, this next Monday, the 9th, you can go to brendonsmall.com and pre-order my record and sample it and check it out and all that stuff. And if you follow my Twitter, you can check out where to sample the music and all that stuff. And just follow the Twitter, and that'll tell you everything.
Follow the Twitter.
Yeah, get it done, fans. And
don't forget April 29th as well. Got to talk about that. That's the new album, the new season of Metalocalypse. I'm there.
Stoked. Yeah, I'm in front of the TV that night for sure, man. Looking forward to it. Brendon, we appreciate it. We'll be back here in a few minutes. This is Across the Board with Ian the Colonel on hawkradio.org.
And acrosstheboardradio.com.